I was 27 at the time. It was just a regular weekend in late October, that kind of cold that creeps into your clothes before you realize it's fall. We were somewhere outside Asheville, North Carolina, deep enough in the woods to lose cell signal, but close enough that it felt like a casual trip. The idea wasn't mine. It was Ben's, a coworker who'd been going on and on about unplugging and getting off the grid for a while. He said his family had access to this old hunting cabin. No power, no Wi-Fi, no plumbing, just us, a wood stove, and quiet. I wouldn't have said yes if it wasn't for Marcy. She was a friend of Ben's, sarcastic, smart, always taking photos with this old analog camera, and Kevin was there too. He barely spoke but was weirdly good at navigating back roads without GPS. The drive was longer than I expected. After the paved road ended, we took this narrow dirt path for nearly 40 minutes. The forest started to feel dense, like the trees leaned closer with every mile. We weren't even sure we were still on a road when the cabin finally appeared just beyond a bend. It looked like it had been swallowed by the woods. It was smaller than I pictured. Weathered wood, tiny windows, a porch that creaked even without wind. The door was locked, but Ben had a key. When he opened it, the air inside hit me. Damp, moldy, like the place hadn't been opened in years, but the fireplace was burning. I saw it before anyone else did. Marcy had gone upstairs to check out the loft. Kevin was unloading the gear, and Ben was messing around in the kitchen. I walked into the living room, and there it was. Active flames, clean logs, glowing like someone had just stoked it. "Did one of you light this?" I asked out loud. No response at first, then Ben came in, confused. He said no one had been there in months. The place was supposed to be locked tight. "Maybe someone stopped by," he said, "a neighbor or something." There were no neighbors, not for miles. The weirdest part? The room wasn't warm. The fire was real, the crackling was soft and steady, but the air was cold, not freezing, just wrong. We kind of laughed it off. Kevin tried tossing a bit of water on it, and the flames hissed but didn't die. He shrugged and gave up. "Guess we're not freezing tonight," Marcy joked, but no one really laughed. Night fell quick. The forest outside seemed darker than it should have been, like the trees swallowed sound. We made dinner, opened some canned chili, and sat in that oddly cold warmth of the fire. Nobody sat too close to it. I slept badly. It wasn't the old mattress or the wind creaking through the walls. It was that strange, steady feeling that the cabin wasn't empty when we arrived, that we didn't open the door and yet we were let in. The next morning, we didn't talk about the fire. Not really. It was still going when we woke up. Slightly smaller, but alive. No one admitted to feeding it during the night. No one even went near it. Still, it hadn't died out. Marcy said she heard something walking around outside, maybe around 3 a.m. Said it was probably a deer. She laughed about it but didn't make eye contact. Kevin just kept making coffee like nothing happened. I stepped outside to pee and realized something weird. There were no prints in the frost. None. Not ours, not animals, not from whoever or whatever might have kept that fire burning. The ground was too soft the night before, and now it was frozen over, but still, nothing. Later that day, Kevin and I went to chop wood. It was mostly deadfall and he was good with an axe. Fast, clean. At some point, he stopped mid-swing and just stared into the woods. "Do you hear that?" he asked. I didn't. Not at first, but then I did. It was this clicking sound. Not constant, but slow, like someone tapping two rocks together every few seconds. Not birds, not bugs. It felt deliberate. We waited. It stopped. "Probably branches," I said, trying to laugh it off. Kevin didn't say anything. He just went back to chopping. That night, we stayed inside. We tried playing cards. We talked about old coworkers, about dumb office drama. We tried pretending it was a normal trip. The fireplace burned on. Around 1 a.m., Marcy went upstairs to grab a blanket. We heard her footsteps go up, then stop, then come back down. Fast. She looked pale. "Someone's been up there," she whispered. "What do you mean?" "My bag's open. My camera's not where I left it." Ben got up and went to check. Kevin followed. I stayed downstairs with her. "I didn't move it," she said, staring at the fire like it might speak, "and I zipped my bag." When the guys came back, they didn't say much, just that they didn't see anything out of place. But that night, none of us slept. Not really. We just laid in our sleeping bags, listening to the wind, to the fire, to the silence between it all. Sometime around 4, the tapping came back. This time it wasn't outside. The tapping didn't stop. We all heard it. Soft, rhythmic, not loud enough to startle, but steady enough to paralyze. It was coming from the corner of the room, the far wall, right where the shadows from the fireplace started to eat the floor. No one moved, no one spoke, it just kept going. Click, click, click. Kevin stood up first. He didn't say anything, just grabbed the flashlight and aimed it toward the corner. Nothing. But the tapping didn't echo like it should have. It was flat, close, like it was inside something. Marcy whispered, "That's where I put my camera bag." Ben walked over real slow and knelt beside it. He unzipped it halfway and stopped. "There's something in here," he said, voice tight. He pulled out the camera. It was warm. That didn't make sense. The rest of the cabin was freezing. He handed it to Marcy and she checked it, frowning. "It's been used," she said. "I had a full roll in here. Now it's half." None of us had touched it. She turned the dial and played back the last few shots. The first ones were normal. A photo of the fire. One of Kevin outside with the axe, the stairs, then a photo of the four of us, asleep, in our sleeping bags, taken from inside the room. The angle was low, as if someone crouched in the corner, hidden behind the old armchair. Marcy dropped the camera. The tapping stopped. We didn't speak for a long time, just sat there watching the fire flicker. It still burned steady, clean, like it didn't care. The next morning we left. We didn't pack. We didn't clean. We didn't even lock the door. Kevin drove faster than I thought he could. Marcy didn't say a word. Ben kept looking in the rear view, like he expected to see something following us. I checked my phone once we hit signal. No calls, no messages, but I had a draft email to myself, time-stamped at 3:49 a.m. It just said, "Don't fall asleep again, not here." I didn't write it. None of us talked about the trip after that, not really. But I'll say this, I've seen fires burn out. I've seen wood turn to ash. I've seen rooms grow cold. That cabin, it wasn't keeping warm. It was keeping something alive. I was volunteering with the Appalachian Search and Rescue Group. It wasn't full-time or anything, more like weekends whenever I had the bandwidth. I worked in IT during the week and spent most Saturdays helping with trail recovery or teaching hikers not to die in the woods. That weekend started normal. Cool air, overcast skies. We were stationed near Pisgah National Forest, North Carolina. Beautiful, dense, and full of people who underestimated how far a quick hike could take them. Around noon, we picked up a radio ping. It was brief, maybe 5 seconds. Just enough time to catch a distress tone and a set of GPS coordinates. That's not weird in itself. What was weird was the signal strength, too clear for that part of the forest. I checked the location on our digital map. Nothing, just blank space. No trails, no old ranger stations, not even logging roads, a dead zone. But the coordinates were precise. "Someone must have hacked a PLB unit," said Caleb, the guy leading our group, "or it's old tech resurfacing." We didn't really argue. When you get a distress call, you follow it. It took us 2 hours to reach the spot, thicker than any part of the forest I'd hiked. Branches snapped against our jackets. The ground was soft in a way that made you sink just a little more than felt normal. And then we saw it. A house, not a cabin. A house, 2 stories, wood siding, cracked paint, windows with curtains. It looked like something from 1960 that had just dropped in the middle of nowhere. "What the hell?" Caleb said. There was no driveway, no path, no sign of construction. Just that house, rooted between trees like it had always been there. We approached slowly. I remember how quiet it was, not peaceful quiet, vacuum quiet, like sound couldn't survive here. The door was slightly open, no footprints around, not even ours. The ground just didn't hold them. I called out, "Hello, search and rescue. You sent a signal." No answer, just that open door, swinging ever so slightly. Caleb stepped inside first, I followed. The living room was clean. Furniture covered in plastic, dustless, no signs of animals, no webs, just a soft smell like an old book, but stronger, like paper soaked in something. On the coffee table was a small blinking device, looked like a custom PLB, personal locator beacon, modified with extra wiring, still emitting that slow red pulse. That's when I noticed the painting above the fireplace. 4 figures, not faces, just outlines, standing in a forest, wearing what looked like ranger jackets. The last figure on the right was wearing a red beanie, just like mine. I don't know how long I stood there staring at that painting, maybe a minute, maybe 5. I kept thinking it had to be a coincidence. Lots of people wear red beanies, but the other 3 figures in the painting, they matched Caleb, Sam, and Kara, right down to Caleb's patchy beard and Kara's gray hiking jacket. They weren't just outlines, they were us. I didn't say anything at first, I just took a step back from the fireplace. Caleb was still examining the beacon on the table. "Looks custom built," he muttered. Someone knew what they were doing. Sam moved toward the stairs, gonna check the second floor. Kara stayed by the door watching us, watching me, like she saw something shift in my face. "You good?" she asked. "Yeah," I said, "just deja vu or something." But it wasn't deja vu. I'd never been here, I knew that, and yet, I felt like I'd left something behind in this house a long time ago. Upstairs, we found 3 bedrooms, empty, dustless, beds made, windows shut tight. One room had a rocking chair that creaked when no one touched it. In the hallway, a framed photo hung crooked. It showed the house from the outside, but there was no forest, just a vast open field and someone standing at the edge, back turned, wearing a red beanie. "Guys," I called, "come see this." When they came up, the photo was gone. I swear to you, gone. The frame was still there, glass intact, but empty. "You sure it wasn't just reflection?" Caleb asked. I didn't argue. What was I gonna say? That I saw myself in a photo that now doesn't exist? We decided to leave, but when we went back downstairs, the door was closed. None of us had shut it. Kara tried the handle, locked. Caleb checked the windows, sealed from the inside. Sam was quiet now, real quiet. I looked at the beacon again, still blinking, still red, and then I saw the label on the side, handwritten. "Repeat signal until they arrive." "Until who arrives?" I whispered. The fire in the fireplace, which hadn't been burning before, was now lit. No one lit it. No wood, no smoke, just a flame. That was the moment I realized the house wasn't waiting for help. It was sending bait. Caleb tried the back door. It didn't exist. I mean that literally. There was a wall where a door should have been. Sam was pacing now, breathing hard, muttering that we should break a window. I remember staring at the fire. Still no wood, still no smoke, just the soft orange light, pulsing, almost like it was breathing. Kara said something then, quiet. I didn't catch it at first. "It's us," she repeated. "That's the signal." I turned to her. "What?" She pointed at the beacon. "That device, it's not broadcasting a location. It's broadcasting a pattern, something about us." Caleb shook his head. "That doesn't make sense." Kara just looked at me. "It's copying us." I don't know why, but in that moment I believed her, like I knew it in my spine. Sam threw a chair at the window. It bounced off like it hit cement. Then the floorboards creaked, not under us but deeper in the house, down the hallway, where we hadn't gone yet. "No," Caleb said, stepping back. But the hallway light turned on, just that one bulb, humming. I started walking toward it. Don't ask me why. I think I thought I'd see something I'd forgotten. Like the house knew something about me I didn't. At the end of the hall was a door, heavy, closed. I reached out and the beacon stopped. No blinking, no red light, just stillness. I turned around. No one was there. The hallway was empty. I ran back to the living room. No one. Not Kara, not Sam, not Caleb. I screamed for them. Nothing. The door was open now. The front door, wide open. Outside was daylight, forest, and my footprints, just mine, leading out into the trees. I don't remember walking out. I just remember the cold and the silence. When I got back to base, they said I'd been gone less than 2 hours. No sign of Caleb, Sam, or Kara. No house, no signal, nothing on satellite, nothing on radar, just me and the beacon I was still holding. It doesn't work anymore. It never did, they said. It's just wires and a dead battery. But some nights when I'm half asleep, I hear it. That soft, low pulse, calling someone back. It was supposed to be a guy's weekend. You know, drinking, bad food, sleeping too late, maybe firing a shotgun at cans if the mood hit. The cabin belonged to Daryl's uncle, some old school hunter who hadn't used the place in over a decade. We drove up Friday afternoon. Me, Daryl, Marcus, and Trey. 4:30 somethings, pretending we weren't completely falling apart inside. Work had been hell for all of us, and we needed an excuse to pretend we were still 22. The cabin was deeper in the forest than I expected. I mean really deep. GPS gave up about halfway, and we followed an old logging trail for the last stretch. No cell signal, no power lines, just trees and sky and silence. When we got there, it looked fine. Not creepy, just old. Wood panels faded gray, antlers nailed above the door, a rusted truck beside the porch, half sunk into the earth like it gave up trying to leave. Daryl had the keys. They worked. Inside was dusty, but everything was still intact. Rifles on the wall, thick wool blankets on the couch, even a stack of old hunting magazines from the 90s. "Smells like taxidermy and trauma," I joked. No one laughed, probably because it did. We settled in, drank too much, talked loud, played cards with bad hands and worse bluffs. Trey passed out first, Marcus followed. I stayed up with Daryl nursing the last beer and watching the fire turn to ash. That's when I noticed it. A small bell by the door, hung from a nail like a decoration. I hadn't seen it earlier. "What's that for?" I asked. Daryl glanced at it, then shrugged. "No idea. Maybe for dogs." We didn't think about it again, not until later. I crashed hard on the couch. At some point during the night, I half woke. That state where you don't know if it's a dream or just your brain replaying static. And I heard it. The bell. One soft chime, just once. Just enough to make my chest go cold. I didn't get up. I didn't open my eyes. I just laid there, pretending not to be real. In the morning, I convinced myself I'd imagined the bell. One chime. Could have been a draft. Could have been a dream. No one else said anything, and I wasn't about to bring it up first. We made eggs and bacon on a propane stove that smelled like regret. Daryl found a hunting log in the desk drawer. Notes from his uncle, scribbled dates, weather, kills, all normal. Until the last entry. It wasn't dated. Just a single line. "If it rings again, don't answer the door." I looked at Daryl. What the hell does that mean? He didn't know. Said his uncle was half paranoid by the end. Marcus thought it was a joke. Trey laughed too hard. But I noticed something. A faint groove in the floor, from the door to the bell. Like someone had walked that path a lot, always stopping just short of opening it. That night we drank less. The fire was warm, but no one sat close. We told stories, but they fell flat. The vibe had shifted, and we all felt it. That low pressure in the chest like weather about to break. I woke up again around 2:40 a.m., and the bell rang. Twice this time. Not loud, not frantic, just deliberate. I stayed still. So did Marcus across from me. Our eyes met in the dark. I could tell. He heard it too. Then softly the doorknob turned. Just a click. Then nothing. Trey shifted in his sleep, muttered something about raccoons, but I knew what I heard. And Marcus did too. He didn't blink for an hour after that. In the morning we found prints. Not boots, not paws, bare feet. Small, human. Right outside the door, 5 toes, and no return trail. "Someone's messing with us," Daryl said, trying to stay logical. "Locals, squatters maybe." But it didn't make sense. No one could walk that trail barefoot at night and vanish into that forest. The cold alone would kill them. We agreed to leave the next morning, but that night the bell didn't ring. The doorknob didn't move. Instead, someone knocked. Once, then again. Then a voice. "You're not hunters." I wish I could say we ran, that we opened the door, or screamed, or did anything, but we didn't. We froze. And I swear to you, it laughed. No one slept. We stayed up, backs against the walls, fire dying low. Trey kept the poker in his hand like it would matter. Marcus muttered prayers. Daryl stared at the door like if it moved again, he'd lose something he couldn't get back. At some point, the air changed, not colder, thicker, like breathing through water. I checked my watch. It was dead. Tried my phone. Still no signal, but the flashlight flicked on by itself, just for a second, then off again. We didn't speak, just waited. For what? I don't think any of us knew. Around 4 a.m., the bell rang again. Not from the door, from inside. I turned slowly. The bell was no longer hanging by the entrance. It was on the table next to Trey. No one had moved it. "This place isn't right," Marcus whispered. It never was. Daryl stood up, slow and stiff, and walked to the fireplace. He reached behind the logs like he knew something was there. He pulled out a photo. 4 people, United States, sitting in that room, same positions, same clothes, but our faces were wrong, blurred, like water-damaged paper, except the eyes. Those were clear, and they weren't ours. We burned the photo. At sunrise, we left. We didn't pack, we didn't clean. We left everything, bags, gear, food. Daryl even dropped the keys on the porch. The forest didn't feel like forest anymore. It felt like we were being allowed to leave. We made it to the truck, started the engine. No one looked back. When we reached signal again, Trey finally said it. We weren't the first ones there. We never told anyone, not really. But a month later, I checked the hunting log again. Online archive. Daryl's uncle had one more note, one that wasn't in the cabin. It said, if they come to hunt, they'll leave as prey. If they come for shelter, they'll be left alone. But if they come empty, they'll be filled. I don't know what that means, but sometimes in the early morning, I swear I still hear that bell, not ringing, breathing. I rented the cabin because I needed quiet, not the kind you get with white noise or guided meditations, the real kind. No neighbors, no traffic, no notifications. It was late March and the mountains were still thawing from winter. I booked 3 nights, just me, a stack of books, a bottle of red wine, and silence. The first day was perfect, cold but calm. I lit the fireplace, made soup from a can, and journaled until my hand ached. No internet, no distractions. I felt light for the first time in weeks. The cabin was old but clean. 1 bedroom downstairs, tiny bathroom, and a narrow staircase leading to the attic. Locked, according to the listing. Owner said it was just storage. Didn't want renters messing with it. I didn't mind. I wasn't there to explore. I just wanted to stop hearing myself think. That night I slept early, heavy, like my body trusted the quiet. Around 2:30 a.m., I woke up. Not because of a sound, because of the absence of it. The fire had gone out. The wind had stopped. It was like the world hit pause. And then I heard something, a soft, dull thud above me. One, then another, slow, deliberate, like someone stepping carefully across floorboards. But the attic was locked. I sat up in bed, heart already pounding before my brain caught up. The steps didn't continue, just those 2. I stayed awake for hours, staring at the ceiling, pretending it was nothing. The next morning, I convinced myself it was the house settling. Old wood, temperature changes, that kind of thing. I even laughed a little when I said it out loud, like saying it made it real. The weather turned just after noon. Clouds rolled in fast like they were late to something. I checked my phone. 1 bar, then none. Rain started light. By 3 p.m., it was coming sideways, slamming the windows like it wanted in. I didn't panic. I had food, firewood, a roof, storms passed. Around 6, the power flickered. Even though I hadn't realized the place had any, just 1 light in the kitchen. It buzzed for a second, then cut out. I lit candles, sat on the couch, tried to read, but the wind was louder now. It wasn't just rushing, it howled, it scraped. Then I heard the attic again. Not footsteps this time. Movement, like something shifting weight, slow, careful, dragging across the beams above. I stood under the locked door, holding a flashlight. My hand shook just enough to make the beam wobble on the knob. Still locked, still dusty, still nothing. I went back downstairs, made tea just to have something warm to hold. Sat with my back to the fireplace, facing the attic stairs like I was guarding something. That night, the storm didn't stop. It got worse. Around 2 a.m., I heard a sound that I'll never forget. A knock from the attic. Not on the door, from inside the attic. A single knock against the wood. Then a whisper, not words, just breath, dragged across the boards, like something was lying just above me, exhaling on purpose. I didn't move. I didn't even blink. I just listened. At some point, I fell asleep like that, sitting up, eyes open, waiting for a sound that never came again. The storm didn't break. It stayed. Heavy, gray, the kind of weather that doesn't just trap you, it watches you. On the 3rd day, the power came back for 10 minutes, just long enough to flash the kitchen light and turn the old radio on. No stations, just static. Then, through the white noise, a voice. Not a broadcast, a whisper. It said my name. I turned the radio off, pulled the plug from the wall, wrapped it in a towel and shoved it into the cabinet under the sink. But my name still echoed in my head, not loud, not threatening, just known. That night I didn't sleep. I lay in bed facing the ceiling. No fire, no wind, just the weight of the air pressing down. And above me, quiet breathing, like something pacing without moving, like lungs inhaling in the dark. Around 3 a.m., I stood up. I walked up the attic stairs, slowly, not because I wanted to know, but because I couldn't pretend anymore that I didn't. The door was unlocked, not broken, not forced, just open. I didn't go in, I just looked. It was empty, but it wasn't. I don't know how to explain it. There was nothing inside that room, but it had the same feeling as standing next to someone who isn't talking, just watching. I closed the door, locked it, went back downstairs. The next morning, the storm ended like it had never happened. I packed in silence, left the key in the mailbox like the owner asked. I never left a review. 2 weeks later, I checked the listing again. It was gone. The host account had no name, no other properties, no contact info. I emailed Airbnb. They said there was no record of my stay, but I still have the receipt. I still have the photos I took, and sometimes I still dream in silence. Complete, unbearable silence, until I hear the breath start again. If you didn't skip ahead, didn't click on another video, and just sat there quietly, maybe these stories touched a part of you no one usually listens to, the part that remembers things it shouldn't, that senses when someone's watching, even when everything is silent. So do one thing, leave a like, but not for me, for you. So I know there are others still awake at this hour, trying to forget what they just heard. And if you want to keep hearing the things no one says out loud, subscribe. Here, we speak softly, but we feel everything.